Story 1. The idea that a group of 2, 3, or 4 people will walk side by side on a sidewalk and then get annoyed if you do not make room for them. Story 2. People existing loudly on public transport or anywhere really. I do not understand how some people are so loud when doing nothing. Not everyone needs to know that you are taking off your jacket or that you are looking for something in your purse. Story 3. Flashing advertisements when I am trying to read, flashing and animated logos and email signatures, signs that have moving and flashing text or images, web pages that move so that when you try to close something, the page shifts at that moment and you end up clicking on something you did not want to click on. Story 4. We use Microsoft Teams at work, and unannounced calls annoy me. It's fine if it is someone in my department, but if I interact with you once every few months, please send a chat with some context first and then we can talk. No one wants to be finding a file or searching emails with someone sitting there watching via video call. Story 5. Scrolling TikTok in public with the volume at full blast. Story 6. I have a friend who has every single setting on his phone turned up to maximum. Every time he receives a text, the sound is so loud it makes me jump. When he reads the text, the room lights up as if he is holding baby Jesus from a nativity scene. He has relatives who actually call him, and the phone rings so loudly it is painful. It makes me angry. Story 7. Not using turn signals while driving is dangerous and inconsiderate. I automatically assume you are careless for not alerting those around you of your intentions. Story 8. People talking on the phone in public on speaker in the store, restaurant, or car, and you hear the whole conversation. Story 9. Going to a concert and seeing a sea of phones held up in front of you. Story 10. Bright headlights, the ones bright white even on the low setting. Go around a corner and bam, blinded for a second. Really dangerous. Instantly annoyed every time. There is no need, just get normal headlight bulbs. Story 11. Fake artificial intelligence talking in videos. I do not know how people listen to them, but they drive me insane. Story 12. I would not say I get annoyed, but spending all day every day with a whole bunch of people that I like is very tiring. It wears my social energy right down. If I were spending all day every day with a whole bunch of people that I did not like, that would be annoying. Story 13. Having people in my apartment, even friends and romantic partners, after a while. Sometimes not even a long while, I really want everyone out. Story 14. I have never even met these people trying to talk to me in a sexual way. Story 15. Being overheated. I have always been temperature sensitive and have some additional health issues that make regulating my body temperature more difficult, to the point of becoming nauseated when I overheat. When I feel it starting to happen, partially due to anxiety, I become very irritable. Story 16. Holding the door for me when I am still far away seems like a nice act, but I feel rushed. Story 17. Being okay with the minimum wage in our society equating to literal poverty is unacceptable. The minimum wage should always be sufficient to fully support one person, providing not just subsistence but a real living. Story 18. Adult women still use the great schoolgirl playing with her Barbie's voice. I know some women have naturally higher-pitched voices, but it seems to have become an exaggerated trend among women under about 35 recently. Even newscasters use it, and I find the voice irritating to listen to. Stranger still is a high voice that still has a lot of vocal fry. Story 19. People who do not pick up their dog's waste. I never see anyone in my town carrying a waste bag. I always have a roll on me, so if I see someone start to walk away after their dog defecates, I stop and offer them a bag. Story 20. In my region, people refer to all soda as Coke, like Fanta is called Orange Coke, etc. No one seems to realize how problematic this is. Coca-Cola is my drink of choice, so imagine my disappointment when I went to a restaurant and asked for Coke, and they said, "Which kind?" Then rattled off a list of Pepsi products. Story 21. Daylight savings, just pick a time and keep it. We have electricity to light the darkness and blackout blinds to darken the light. Story 22. I can only assume this is normal to everyone else because I see it so often, but urine and sometimes even feces on the toilet seat. Sure, I understand that people do not want to put their buttocks down on a public toilet, but the least they could do is clean up after themselves. I am so tired of cleaning up after everyone. Story 23. When someone snoozes their alarm, it is okay to do that when you are alone. However, if you are sharing the room with someone, please get up and turn it off. Story 24. I find it really annoying when people chew with their mouths open. Story 25. Monday mornings are when people want to know all about what you did on the weekend. I was tired, so I sat on the couch and binge-watched Netflix. Exciting, huh? Story 26. People at work who think Microsoft Teams works like a phone call. Hello. I eventually give in and reply, hello. Then wait a few seconds to see if they respond. They don't, so I go back to work. Then I get another notification. How are you? Do you not realize how disruptive this is? Just ask your question and be done with it. If you feel you must say hello first out of politeness, immediately follow with your question. Do not wait for my reply. Story 27. This is really petty, but I cannot stand septum piercings. I am so disgusted by them that I can barely look at someone's face if they have one. It actually makes me feel queasy. It is a deal breaker for me. Story 28. Oh my gosh, when people eat with their mouths open and the sound of chewing with saliva. If there are eating noises added, I want to scream. It feels like someone running their fingernails down a blackboard. Worse, I have to either physically remove myself as soon as possible or politely ask the person to stop, but I snap if I stay even a second too long. Crazy. Edit. Since reading some of the comments, it seems I'm not alone with the chewing sounds, and it even has a name. It's a disorder called misophonia. I looked it up, read 7 articles about it, and most definitely I have it. If you're the same, check it out. Story 29. People who start their car early in the morning and let the engine run until they drive away. Story 30. Professional singers who lip-sync their entire shows or use backing tracks. You are a professional singer. You do one thing, so do it. You should be able to meet any and all challenges of your profession. Anyone in the world can lip-sync a song or be enhanced by a backing track to make it passable. It annoys me greatly. What is even more annoying are the people who excuse it or falsely claim that everyone does it as if it is meaningless. Story 31. I get annoyed by subtle changes to my environment related to air conditioning. I realize it is quite silly and have no reason for getting irritated by it. For example, you are at work and can hear the constant background noise of the air conditioning throughout your area. At some point, the air conditioning turns off and it is suddenly incredibly quiet in the area, and you can hear a pin drop all around you. That sudden change in ambient background noise has always bothered me when things suddenly get quiet. I am not sure what my problem is. The annoyance does not last more than a few seconds. I suspect that because I have somewhat of a loud voice, the sudden shift to a quiet environment around me makes me feel self-conscious, so I do not want to speak in that area anymore. Who knows? Story 32. The immediate answer to your problems is hard work. I get annoyed because it is such a generalized term thrown around with no context or understanding. Story 33. Going to a concert but recording the whole time means you are essentially watching the performance on your phone screen. I recently went to a Korean pop concert and almost everyone was recording. I am a bit older, so it is not a habit of mine. The girl behind me actually tapped on my shoulder and asked if I needed a power bank. She thought the reason I did not record was because my phone died. Bless her. She was very thoughtful. Story 34. I live in a seaside resort village in a very old part of England. All of the roads were built before the advent of the automobile. This means that the streets are very narrow, to the point where pedestrians have to flatten themselves against a wall to let cars through. I am coming to strongly dislike everyone who drives a car at this point. The rational part of my brain thinks that older people need to visit and they cannot walk that far, so we need to give them access in cars. But at this point in my life, I just want to throw rocks at everyone who drives through my village and to my village. I hate having to flatten myself against a wall because drivers are too lazy to park outside of town and walk. Story 35. When people chew loudly, I know it is normal, but for some reason it drives me nuts. Story 36. Video calling in public. Talking on your phone very loudly in shared public spaces, especially the airport. Story 37. It drives me really mad when people use the word literally improperly. Story 38. Seemingly normal, but people who talk on speakerphone, watch videos, or use FaceTime in public at full volume. Story 39. When people interrupt silence and start talking about nothing, and when people try to recount a story or event but include many irrelevant details and their thoughts are disorganized. Story 40. This is a hard question, but I have to say the way people these days say womp womp to literally anything. They do not care if someone's grandpa died or if your favorite stuffed animal got stolen. It is honestly heartless. And like some people already said, I go crazy when someone eats with their mouth open or worse, talks while chewing. Story 41. People are always recording things or taking pictures for social media. Story 42. When people do not say please or thank you, it drives me up a wall. Story 43. Playing music in public seriously seems to be gaining acceptance by the masses, but it will always annoy me. Story 44. People looking at their phones and scrolling as they walk up the stairs from the subway slow down the flow of people. Story 45. When you do a web search now, you have to wade through many more website pages written clearly by automated programs with poor grammar skills, with the sole purpose of landing advertisements on your eyes before you can get to what you were actually hoping to find, if you can find it. It did not always feel this difficult. Story 46. I have quite a few. I have severe misophonia for slurping, gulping, and squelchy mouth noises, extreme physical discomfort, immediate spike in anxiety, and uncontrollable disgust. I have to leave the area and calm down. Business dinners in China were rough. Private cell phone conversations on speakerphone in shared spaces or privately watching videos or listening to music through speakers rather than headphones in shared spaces. People who don't return shopping carts. This is specific to the Bay Area, but leaving a 1 to 3 car gap at stop signs and stoplights causes a lot of traffic. People who slow down to merge onto the highway. Slow walkers who can't seem to move in a straight line. Groups who take up the entire width of the sidewalk. People who stop to orient themselves as soon as they pass through doorways. Basically people who are either completely unaware of their surroundings or don't consider how their actions affect others. To moms with strollers on group walks. I understand you need to get the children to sleep, get yourself out of the house to socialize and exercise, and I know you're exhausted, kids aren't easy, but please don't give people the stink eye when they politely ask to pass. Also, apparently people who won't get off my lawn. I've become that grumpy old man. Story 47. When people say fine, they often mean not fine. I know many use it this way, but when I say I am fine, I truly mean it. I do not play mind games. Story 48. How some children behave in public and their parents. I am not referring to children in general who occasionally misbehave in public. This is expected and should not be frowned upon. I am talking about children who have full-blown meltdowns while their parents remain passive observers. Even worse, some parents encourage their children to embrace their feelings. Sir or madam, children can embrace their feelings in a place where there are no people around. Restaurants, for example, are not playgrounds. Your child cannot run or play hide and seek among the tables, other patrons, or the waitstaff. Waitstaff especially carry heavy trays with either glasses or hot foods. These items could fall on your child's head, and then you might blame the waiter or the restaurant. Not your poor parenting or your kids will be kids' mentality. Story 49. Men urinating against buildings or in public spaces. I would like not to smell urine the entire time when I walk around the city. Cannot be that hard to find a public restroom or hold it in. Story 50. People bring their dogs everywhere, especially to grocery stores. Story 51. Slamming doors. I don't know if it is normal for everyone else, but many people I know do not seem to care or even notice they do it. It is so annoying to be relaxing at home and then someone slams all of the doors loudly. Story 52. Gossip is really hard to shut down with people you care about, but it truly hurts others whether there is truth in it or not. My experience with malicious gossip in my family has affected my life negatively in the worst ways. I try my hardest to stop gossip if it comes to me, but people do not appreciate it very much. Story 53. It is really annoying when someone talks loudly on speakerphone in a public space, like a grocery store. I like to glare at them as if I am paying attention and see how they react. Story 54. When people play their music out loud, No one wants to listen to it except them. Story 55. Being obnoxiously loud in public and acting as if they are the only ones who matter, showing no awareness of their surroundings. Story 56. Not changing the batteries in your smoke detector and just letting it chirp can be very irritating for your neighbors. How can someone just ignore it? Story 57. Do not have a conversation over the speakerphone and get angry when other people complain about it. Please take the conversation elsewhere. Story 58. Whistling, especially indoors, is very rude. It shows poor manners and hurts my ears. Story 59. People filling their garages to the brim with items, parking in their driveways, pulling chairs in front of the garages, and sitting outside looking at the front of their vehicles. Story 60. Putting things in the sink, even if you plan to wash them later, is not acceptable. I am okay with leaving things on the side, but once they are in the sink, they must be washed immediately. Story 61. I do like kind and friendly people, but that usually does not mean I want to talk to them. So, interactions, I guess, laugh out loud. Story 62. Loud phone speakers, of course, but let's one-up that. Does anyone remember Chirp? The device would beep, and people pretended their mobile phones were walkie-talkies. High-pitched beeps all day long. It was ridiculous. Just call them, was a common and reasonable complaint. Story 63. When people say 6 a.m. in the morning, say one or the other. If you say a.m., I know you are talking about the morning. Story 64. The random braking people do while driving. Examples. There are people who have a wide open acceleration lane getting on the freeway, and the traffic is not heavy, yet they just slow down for no reason. They brake on open stretches of road with no hazards. They do it on city streets. Also, those who tailgate too closely in heavy traffic and accelerate and brake repeatedly every few seconds while everyone else is just driving steadily, not stop-and-go traffic. The worst are the ones who don't want to go fast but make it their mission to hold back anyone from passing them. They cut you off, get beside someone slow, and hold you back. When an opportunity to pass them appears, they accelerate up to 25 miles per hour above the speed limit to keep you behind them. Then, as soon as the passing opportunity is gone, they slow back down below the limit. It frustrates me to no end. I submit that if people just drove the speed limit, didn't brake unnecessarily, and didn't obstruct others, we would have much better traffic flow on our roads and far fewer accidents. Story 65. When people put a used spoon in the sour cream, enzymes break down the food. Story 66. Having people in my home, including my landlords, genuinely feels like it ruins my entire day, if not the weekend, depending on when it happens. Story 67. How noisy it is everywhere you go. Grocery stores, restaurants, yard work, the gym. Story 68. When a cat cleans herself right next to me, I do not like the sound. Story 69. The people who walk through grocery stores with their phones on speaker at full volume. Story 70. The seemingly sudden rise of the term, appreciate you, irritates me, but I can't explain why. Story 71. People openly admiring celebrities. Stranger, I do not want to know which man or woman you are attracted to. I can see they are attractive. I do not need you to tell me. Related to this, fans being outraged that someone else does not know their favorite celebrity. No, not knowing your favorite celebrity does not mean they live under a rock. It just means they have different interests. Story 72. The general status quo of the working world in America is challenging. Online, there are many people frustrated with it. At work, it feels like being Jonah from The Giver, where it seems like no one else can see the problem. People complain about our coworkers not overworking themselves enough, but they do not recognize how much the company is overworking them. Story 73. Wearing pajamas in public. I thought no fashion choice could surpass sweatpants and loose-fitting t-shirts at saying, screw this, I'm done. Then people started wearing pajamas in public, and I realized, not for the first time, that people have an almost infinite capacity for going lower. Story 74. Christmas music. It's the same thing every year. It's tired. Yes, I know I'm a Scrooge. Story 75. Helping when I did not ask for help makes me angry. I am an adult. I do not need or want help. If I need it, I will ask. I will exhaust every other resource on this forsaken planet before I ask. Leave me alone. Story 76. Women, including underage girls, are now engaging in activities on social media that were once considered taboo or unheard of 20 to 30 years ago, such as posting provocative dances or sharing explicit content. The vast majority of people today consider this perfectly normal. Story 77. The Midwestern polite offer refusal loop drives me insane. Story 78. For some reason, I get irrationally annoyed when I see people talking or playing on their phones while walking their dogs. Pay attention to your furry friend during your stroll. Story 79. The pace at which the average person walks varies. I am a fast walker who likes to get where I am going. In most grocery stores, people take their time and are completely oblivious to others, blocking the aisle. This is one of my top pet peeves, and I absolutely hate it. Story 80. When someone is very affectionate to me or someone else, I know that it may make me seem rude, but I cannot help it. Story 81. Loud bass is physically painful for me and other sound-sensitive individuals. Also, loud keyboard sounds and haptic feedback should be minimized. Do not make everyone around you hear it every time you press a letter on your phone. Story 82. Everyone is waiting in a long line to exit the freeway when someone pushes their way in, and someone always lets them in. Now, Story 83. Loud eaters. Normal sound is okay, quiet is even better, but loud noises irritate me. Story 84. People who drink the last cup of coffee early in the morning but do not make a new batch. Everyone else is like, oh well, and makes it, where I am like, unbelievable. Story 85. When the entire family needs to be present for things, the whole family does not need to be there. For example, I was in the emergency room a few weeks ago, and there were multiple large families present. Why did all 3 children, grandmother, and both parents need to be there for little Johnny's stub toe? Story 86. Sharing your belongings with others because they want them, regardless of how you feel, is often expected. Otherwise, you may be labeled selfish. People often become upset when they do not get the last piece of gum or a pencil, and this can lead to conflict. Story 87. Playing loud music in the car and then trying to have a conversation. Story 88. Bad manners. No one says, excuse me. They squeeze past you or reach over you to get something. It seems like no one wants to talk anymore or use their words. Story 89. Saying, how are you? When all they really mean is, hi. No one wants an answer besides, good, you. I hate it. Just say hi and be done. Story 90. When people leave any door open, it bothers me so much. Cabinet doors, pantry doors, bathroom doors. Just close the door. Story 91. When people claim they are smart but then say fish gave birth to people, or giant cold-blooded reptiles magically transformed into warm-blooded flying birds, or say the earth is flat. Story 92. It may not annoy me much, but it bothers me when many people are talking at the same time in the same place, having different conversations that interest me, and I cannot follow any of them. Story 93. Most things. Everyone except me is an idiot because I am old. Therefore, everything they do annoys me. Story 94. Being out in the sun. It seems everyone around me loves being under the sun and getting warm. I, for one, cannot handle the heat. Even standing for 5 minutes under the sun makes me very hot. I feel like I need to stay in an ice bath for a while, not to mention the sweat and all that. Yuck. Story 95. Lack of spatial awareness, especially in crowded or narrow areas such as store aisles. Story 96. Imagine that you receive constant notifications on your phone or computer, alerting you to minor matters that do not require your immediate attention. It is like having a digital mosquito in your ear, refusing to let you focus on the task at hand. Story 97. Who are the people who leave a few seconds left on a microwave and just leave it that way? If you grab your food early, cancel the rest of the time like a civilized human being. As a side note, if what you heated up was soup, do not slurp that in public. Slurping sounds are offenses against others. You can put the spoon in your mouth and eat without slurping. Story 98. People in public have their phones on speaker when they are on a call. Story 99. It annoys me that people use the phrase, begs the question, when they mean to simply say, asks the question. It further annoys me that this use of begs the question is now considered acceptable simply because people have continued to misuse it. It even further annoys me that someone decided in the first place that this phrase should mean something other than what it appears to mean. Story 100. When someone hits a bowl with a spoon or something, it makes a really loud noise. Story 101. Sweeping things under the rug and keeping quiet when issues should be addressed is unacceptable. If you see something, say something. Story 102. People eating with their mouths open. Blurt, slurp, eat like a normal person. Story 103. People feel that because Apple Pay and Google Pay exist, they can leave the house without their wallet and get upset when a business does not have the necessary technology to serve them. Story 104. People use their phones in public places and speak loudly. Story 105. People who leave the tap running while brushing their teeth or doing other activities. Story 106. Pandering to overly sensitive people who get offended by everything. As a society, we should be telling those people to go away instead of placating them. Story 107. The expectation that women should change their name after marriage and that the child should take the father's name. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.